Hello everyone, my name is Seraphi and I'm happy to meet you all. And today we're going to be talking about what to do if the internet does not work. Really simple. I know that it stresses out a lot of people. So before I get started, let me stress that this video is only covering no connection. There are all sorts of ways that your internet could feel like it's not working, whether it's going slow, whether it's going in and out, whether it is saying that it's connected without internet, or rarely a single site destination error where you have a connection but you can't get to one specific website. I am only going to be covering no connection in this video. But if you want to get videos on slow internet or intermittent connection, leave a comment down below. Make your voice heard. Let's get started. So, internet connection being off can be very devastating, especially if it's at a crucial time where you're like, oh, I have to upload this homework in 2 hours. Or, oh, my credit card reader is not working and now I can't take payments. I'm here to help. So, there's a few important things to note before you call your internet service provider. There's lots of troubleshooting you can do to try and figure out what the cause is and get it resolved. Let's get started. The first thing that you should do, I had a flow chart that I was making and I was just like, this is going to take way too long. So, not too many visuals, sorry about that, but you guys can follow along. Actually, let me just type this. That way you guys have like a little visual. Hold on. We'll have a little visual for the visual learners here. 1 second, let me just... I always do that. I am not talking about this, I'm talking about my webcam. Oh, no. Webcam. There I am. Okay, so for the visual learners among you, here's a little bit of help. Can I zoom in? Oh, that's too much. There we go. Okay. So first things first. This is probably too small. Let's upgrade the... Okay, there we go. Is it one device? This is huge. Very important. When you determine that the internet is not working, the first thing you should do is determine if it is one device or multiple devices. Can't tell you the number of times I've gotten someone who called me and said, my credit card machine's not working, I can't get any payments, the internet's out. And then they get accusatory. They're like, is there an outage? Did you guys shut me off? Is the Wi-Fi working? How do I find that out? Well, can you connect to it on your phone? Yeah? What's going on? Why would the Wi-Fi work, but my computer, like my little credit card machine, not working? It's a good question. And that's important information that would have benefited me if you had led the conversation with that. So, if it is just one device, then restart the device. That'll fix your problem. 9 out of 10 times. If your phone is not getting connected to the Wi-Fi, and that's the only device that's not getting connected to the Wi-Fi, shut it off, shut it back on. It works. Same thing with your computer. If your computer has a little globe at the bottom of the screen that says no internet access, but you can get on your Wi-Fi with your phone, restart the computer, fixes the problem. If it's all devices, now you have an internet issue. So let's get started. First things first, take a look at your modem. If you don't know what your modem is, you're going to learn. The modem is the device that has the coax plugged in. Let's take a look. This is my setup. Got the router right here. Oh, wait. Testing, 1, 2, 3. Okay. This is my setup. Got the router right here, and then the modem down here. How do we tell the difference? If you look at the back, this is the back of the router, there are a bunch of Ethernet cords plugged in and a power cord, but no coax cable. If you don't know what a coax cable is, congratulations, here's your learning. Right here. See this big black cord that's like screwed in? You can't take it off, you can only unscrew it. That is how you tell the difference. So, now you need to know what your device looks like when it's working. So we'll use my device as an example, but what I recommend to all of you is if you get an internet connection, you should take a picture of your modem and your router while you are connected so that you know what all the lights are supposed to look like. All right, so as you can see, we have a power light, an online light, and a voice light. And those lights are all solid blue. This is an indication the device is working. Next up is the router. The router has a single blue light at the bottom, and that light is solid blue when it works. Okay, so now how do we fix a problem? Well, the first thing that you do when you determine that all devices are disconnected, take a look at your router and make sure there are any lights on it at all. As long as there are lights on it, good. You have failed, or you've passed the first test. If there's no lights on the device, guess what? It doesn't have power. And the device needs to have power to function. This is very important for business owners in particular. Business owners like to act like they are, hold on, let me type this. Business owners like to act like their business is their house. Not saying that you're unprofessional or anything, but you act like you know everything that's going on there. That's not true. Your employees are not pets. They do things without you knowing about it. So, I can't tell you how many times I've had some big shot call me, be like, hey, my internet's down, I'm losing thousands. What do the lights look like? There's no light on it. Well, in that case, you might need to plug it in. Oh, now there's a light on it. Cool, let's wait 2 minutes. Internet's back. You're welcome. So, modem has to have power. If you are at a business, who knows what people have been messing around? Could be a cleaner, could be one of your employees tripped over something. If you didn't do it, that doesn't mean that it didn't happen. So make sure that it's plugged in. Next up, you need to make sure that the lights are what they say they are. So make sure lights are normal. I told you that my device, the lights are blue when it's on. Let's take a look at what it looks like when it's not blue. All right, I have unplugged my modem. As you can see, it is now completely black. You can't even see where it said power, online, and voice anymore. My router is still plugged in though. That light is now solid red. We'll get back to that in a minute. Okay, so now let's look at what happens when I plug the device back in. As you can see, the power light has come on, and the power light is blue, which is obvious. The device has power now, but we're going to wait and see what happens with the online light. Now, this process can take several minutes, so just keep in mind that when you're working on the internet, it can take you a minute. There we go. Now we can see that all my lights are flashing now. The online light has now come on, and the online light is going to be white. See, it's flashing between blue and white. And meanwhile, the router is still solid red. Why is the router impacted by my modem being unplugged? Let's talk about that while we wait for the device to get back up. This is a web-based program, so I can't type. It won't even let me type unless it's connected to the internet. Great. All right, no big deal. So the reason why you can't see, like, my router is affected even though my router was plugged in the whole time. The modem is the gateway to the internet. The modem is how I determine if I'm getting online or not. The router is connected to the modem. The router does not have a coax cable in it. If the router can't get internet connection from the modem because the modem's not working, the router's just going to be dead. By the way, you can see my internet's back up. Boom. Okay. All right. So that is how to troubleshoot if the modem is offline. So if the modem has no lights on it, you plug it back in. If the modem has lights on it that are wrong, unplug it and plug it back in. Next up, what happens if the modem has no lights on it, but it's plugged in? I hate to tell you this, I'm not an electrician, but outlets can die. That's just how it is. Just like how a router or a modem can malfunction, so can a power outlet. Even if you are plugged into a power strip and other devices in the power strip are working, each individual outlet has its own charge. So if you have it plugged in and there's no lights on it, it doesn't have power. Treat it as though it's not plugged in, plug it into a different outlet. Sorry, them's the breaks. People argue with me about that all the time, and they're always wrong. Try not to be too cocky, but it genuinely does drive me crazy. Okay. All right, so next up, what happens if you restart the device and the lights come back and they are not correct? Let's do this first. Restart modem, no lights. All right, what if there are no lights at all? If there are no lights at all, you plugged it into a different outlet, you don't have any power. Okay, at that point you call your ISP. Could be an issue with the modem, could be an issue with the connector, with the power cord, could be an issue with other connections, but you're not responsible for it at that point. So let them fix it. If you have lights that are not correct, so like for example, if I had the online light that was white, I unplug it, plug it back in, the online light is still white. What do I do then? Check for an outage. All right, so at that point, I would want to look on my ISP's websites, which I could do on my phone, or I could, call the ISP and listen to their automated system, see if there's an outage in my area. If there's an outage in my area, okay, they're working on it, probably a couple of hours, internet's gonna be back up. If there's no outage, then at that point, you need to check for fallen cables. Like I told you guys in the previous video, cables are how you get connection. If the cable is down, you're not going to have connection. Simple enough. So if there's someone who's been digging outside of your property, like a landscaper, and you lose internet randomly, and you restart it, and the internet doesn't come back up, sorry to tell you, your landscaper probably cut one of your cables. Same thing with construction, same thing with If you see another internet service provider at a neighbor, they could have accidentally disconnected you. What do you do in that situation? Call your ISP. So if there's damage outside, you call your ISP, but you check first because you need to tell them if you see anything. If you don't, I mean, to be honest, at this point, it's most likely the fact that there's damage outside. Not 100% of the time, but most usually. So it's helpful if you can tell them any information, and then you just call them. And if you can't see damage outside, you still call them because you restarted the device and it's still not working. All right, that is the modem. Now let's talk about the router. Router has no lights, plug it in. Simple enough. All right, router has bad lights. When the router has poor lights, but the modem has good lights, then you want to check on the Ethernet cable. Let's take a look. This is the most scuffed video on YouTube. This is my Ethernet cable that's plugged into my modem that's going into the router. And difficult to see, but there are two orange lights flashing right now. And if you look at the back of the router, where it's plugged in, the green light and another flashing yellow light. It's right next to a lamp, kind of hard to see with those colors, but trust me, they're there. Okay. Okay, so if you have verified that there is power to both your modem and to your router, and you've also verified that the modem has solid lights, and then the router has poor lights, and you take a look at the cable and the cable has no lights on one or both sides, probably a bad cable. Ethernet cables pass electricity through them to maintain a connection. If you lose power, if there's a storm, if there's a short, if the power goes out, especially for like a few seconds as opposed to it being completely out, that can cause your Ethernet cable to short circuit, and then you'll need a new Ethernet cable. It's just how it is. Replacing Ethernet cables is super cheap. You can do so at a Walmart or whatever. All right, if the Ethernet cable has lights on it, then you want to look at, well, if the router has no lights at that point, then you call your ISP. Could be a couple of reasons why the router would be disconnected, but at that point you've done everything that you can, so you let your ISP handle that, unless it's not their router. All right, so this is the hard part. What if you chose to get your own router? Modem's online, the Ethernet cable has lights on it, you've restarted the router, it still has bad lights. Ooh, at that point, you're on your own. So you can do a factory reset. Problem with the factory reset is it's going to take all your settings out. That means if you have any port forwarding settings, they'll be reset. If you have any IP configurations that you did, it'll be taken off. If you change the Wi-Fi network name and password, that'll be reset. If you change the password to log into the router itself, that'll reset. But that's what a factory reset does. It takes the connection and restores it to factory settings fresh out of the box. That fixes 99% of the problems with the device. You should do that with your phone as well if you have a problem with your phone, although I'm not a phone expert. And then with computers, you just uninstall and reinstall the operating system, which is basically the same thing as a factory reset. Okay, so that's one option, or you could call the manufacturer. Pro tip, manufacturers, not helpful. They're not ISPs, they don't have a reason to troubleshoot with you. They'll tell you if the device is under warranty and then they'll tell you to go away. But, still an option. My recommendation, if you don't know what you're doing, don't run your own router. And I will, if you guys are interested, I will make a video about running your own router. If that's, if you're interested in getting advice on how to manage your own internal network, let me know in the comments. I'll do something with it. Okay. So now we get to the hard part. What happens if you have no connection on multiple devices, your lights are correct on the modem, your lights are correct on the router, and you restarted it? At that point, it is not an internet issue. Something's going wrong somewhere else. First of all, you probably have some other networking connections. So, usually when you come into a situation where the modem has good lights, the router has good lights, but you still don't have connection on multiple devices, it's an indication that you have another device in the mix. Maybe it's a switch, maybe it's a firewall, maybe it's maybe you have like another router plugged in, but something else is acting as another barrier between the router and your other devices, and that is malfunctioning. So you power cycle it. And if you don't have any other devices, and you have you have good lights, you really want to try and figure out what the problem is, because you should be able to connect at that point. It's probably at that point user error. So we've gotten to this far, and I've told you to call your ISP like maybe 3 times. You see how many possible situations you can be in where this isn't actually an issue with the internet? Okay. Next up is what happens if it's... No, that's everything. Yeah. For no connection, that's literally all that you can do. If you have exhausted all these steps and you still have no connection on multiple devices, at that point you would call your internet service provider so they can check and see if there's some other problem. All right, there you guys go. That's the basics of what to do if you don't have an internet connection. My name is Seraphi, and I was thrilled to have all of you with me.